nice to see you again. Here we have another shell. This is also one of those old shells that I did a while back. This one is from, I think, November of 2021. So it's been a couple of years since I made this. The full footage of this recording is actually 7 hours long. Can you imagine? It took 7 hours to do this. And this house I didn't even build. I just had the shell and all I had to do was furnish it. But this was a relatively large build. And I remember that I had to do this over a course of a couple of days because, like I mentioned in my life update video, I was in college and I just didn't really have that time to dedicate to The Sims. But yeah, it took me 7 hours too, and I was able to condense it down to a 20-ish long video. This house was inspired by upper middle class houses near where I lived. No, I did not live in those houses, but I always liked seeing them when we drove by, or I had one specific friend who was in that category. She lived in a house kind of like this, and I always wished that I could live there. And a characteristic of all of those houses, at least in that neighborhood, was that they would have different kinds of materials in the front. So it would be like wood and stone or brick and stone. It wasn't just like one color, it was different designs in the front. So that's why this house has like one part is brick, the other part is paneling. When I originally made this build, some people thought that it was like a renovated house, like, oh, they extended the house and didn't have the same material, so they made something else. But that's not it. It's not renovated. That is the style of the house, to have different materials. So that's why it's paneling and brick. Now, for the front windows there that I put the big windows in the front, I do have some experience trying to make like windows that go up 2 stories, because in my offline save, I did do this before and I really struggled a super long time trying to do that in my offline save. So in this one here, I already knew what I had to do, so it didn't take that long. You really have to try to get the windows as close to the border of the stories as possible. And if you have to try to get windows that have the smallest frame so that it looks like it's continuing, you know? Unfortunately, The Sims doesn't really have a half moon shaped window that is 3 tiles long. They have some that are like a quarter moon, you know, that domed kind of window that would go perfectly on top, but they don't have it, so we have to do our best with what we have. If they had some that are 3 or 4 tiles long, I think it would have looked perfect, but I think this one also looked fine. As you can see, I really do have to try to put the windows literally inside each other for it to do well. But it didn't take me that long this time because, like I said, I already had experience trying to do that in another place, so I kind of already knew what I was doing. The layout of this house is a little bit weird, as in the sizing of the spacing of the rooms is a little bit weird. This is a shell, I didn't make this, so the point was to give you a hard time. But some of these rooms just were either too small or too narrow. You really had to use your noggin to figure out how to structure the spaces so that you could have space for everything, but also it looked nice. It wouldn't look cramped. This is a shell. That is literally the point of the shell. To make you think outside the box. To make you think of things that you wouldn't have thought of before because you are restricted to the walls. It's like when you go to a new home and you don't have the money to tear down walls. You don't have the money to change the floor plan, so you do have to do your best with what you're given. Sometimes that means that one room is gonna have like one furniture and it's gonna look kind of empty, but that also means that other rooms will look really cramped, and you just have to figure out what to do. And this is what happened in this house. I really struggled with either the rooms being too cramped or being like too big. In the end, I think it looks fine. Let me know what you think. I originally wanted 4 Sims to live in this house. It would be like a mother and a father and 2 children. It just didn't work out. The breakfast nook area could only fit 3 chairs. I literally could not fit a 4th chair because of the way that The Sims is made, and also if it was in real life, it also would be very cramped. And the way that I distributed the rooms, there was basically nowhere to put another bed. We're only having 3 Sims, a mother, a father, and a child, a girl. She is in the Girl Scouts, so she's probably around elementary school, reaching middle school age, so she's probably around 10 or 11 years old. Still childish, but starting to get a little bit older, if you know what I mean. Since this is an old video, this was made in 2021, I did not have access to a lot of the packs that we have now. The Sims came out with lots of different packs for like decorations and especially for kids. If I was able to have the children's kit when I made this house a couple of years back, it would have been amazing because I would have been able to decorate the kids' room better. There would have been cuter items. I think maybe her room would look a little bit less cramped because I would be able to put different things and not all of those big items. If you want, you can download this house for yourself and you can renovate it. If you have the kit, you can use that kit to decorate her room. I think it's gonna look great. I do have a recollection that I had a specific vision in mind, a specific way that I wanted the house to look, a specific kind of style. But right now, I can't tell you what that is. You can look at the house and guess for yourself what you think I wanted to do. But I do remember very specifically that I had a specific vision in mind. And that's why it took me so long to do this house. Because I really had to go through each single item, going slowly through the catalog to find the perfect option that I thought was the best option. In regards to windows, this is a bit of a tip, I guess. When you're putting windows in a house, try to use the same pack or different packs that have the same style of windows because that will make the house look a lot more cohesive. Because some packs have like really thick frames. Some packs have the thinner window frames. Some of them have the thick on the outside and thin on the inside. Some of them, the colors are not all the same. So if you can stick to the same type of windows from like the same pack, it will make your house look a lot more cohesive, both from the inside and the outside. And if you don't want to stick to one pack, because I do understand that there are different packs offer different things and you might want a different window from another pack, you can just try to stick with the same size of window frame. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but if you do, good for you. I did change the general color scheme of this house a couple of times. I put the furniture down, I put the wallpapers down, and afterwards I did change it up a little bit. Like I said, I had a vision in my brain and I wanted that vision to come to life. So that meant that I had to change the colors of stuff a couple of times. You're going to see that throughout this video. And I do think that wallpapers, as in like the colorful designs that you put on the walls, I think wallpapers are a good thing to have. But I really do think that you need to use it sparingly. And this is my style. This is the way that I think it looks nice. You don't have to agree with me on this. But if you're going to put wallpapers on the whole room, you're very limited to what you can put on the walls. If you're gonna put pictures or paintings, you're limited to the kinds of rugs that you can use because the walls are already so full of information. When you have a design already on the wall, you have to try to be plain on the other things or else it's just too much visual noise. I think that's the word. It's too much things that your eyes are catching and it will make it look too busy. That's just the way I think. I know that people who are maximalists and things like that will not agree with me, but in my opinion, if you want to decorate your house with other things, with pictures on the walls, with nice rugs, try to limit the amount of wallpapers that you use. That doesn't mean you should stay away from wallpapers in general, or you should never put wallpapers in the entire room. There is, I think, some rooms in this house that I did actually put the wallpaper, the colorful design wallpaper, in the whole room, but that was because of the design that I wanted for that room. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Another tip is the use of columns. I know most people, when they make builds, they put the columns on the outside, on the corners of the house, because it really does add that accent, that it pulls everything together. But you can also use columns inside the house to separate the space. You can see during this video that there is a big gap between the kitchen area and the dining room area, and I wanted the kitchen to have tiles, but I didn't want the living room wall to have tiles. So what I did was I put a column to divide those spaces. It does its job. It divides the space, it adds that ending that you need, but it's not abrupt. If I wanted to, I could have also added like an arch, like, I forgot what it's called. You know, the thing that you put there on the columns to make it look nice. I could have added that. I think I didn't want to at the time. You can definitely use it inside of a house, not just outside, to separate the spaces, to separate the wallpapers, to designate a little bit better, or just to add a little bit of a texture to the house, to add some 3D elements and make it look more visually interesting. Just a little tip for you. A little bit about this family, at least from what I thought that the family was. I think this is a suburban family that has money to spend on the things that they want. They can live comfortably, but they have still not escaped the rat race. So they are still obviously tied to their jobs and things like that. They're not rich, but they do have enough money to travel once in a while, to have their house full of things, to live a comfortable life. I guess that is what you would consider upper middle class anyways, but that's up to you. You decide what that means. I don't want this to come off as like a wealthy house, as they're full of money to spend on anything they want. I don't think that's it, because if they had all the money that they wanted, the house wouldn't be like this. The distribution of the rooms wouldn't be like this. They would be able to build their own custom house with the custom sizes, but they were able to fill up all of those spaces, so that does mean that they have some money. In all of my shelves videos that I've done so far, I usually spend some time talking about the glitches that I had in the game or the things that didn't quite work out. I don't think I have anything like that for you this time. I really don't remember having any glitches or any like problems with things not working properly. When I was looking through the recording, I really didn't find anything that like took me such a long time to do because it was just impossible to get it in the right place. Or when I put something in one place and another thing disappeared. And nothing like this happened this time. This was a relatively easy house in regards to like doing stuff, because there was nothing hindering me from doing what I wanted. The only thing hindering me was the items. That's why it took me such a long time, because I had that vision and I wanted to have that vision. I had no problems with like Sims software program. I didn't have any of those glitches. And obviously this is a very large house, so there was a lot of space to fill. That is one of the reasons also why it took me 7 hours to do this build. For sofas, I am the kind of person that doesn't really like sectionals. In the house that we're living in now, we do have a sectional. I guess it's not really a sectional, it's like a U-shaped sofa. I don't usually like the couches that have like corners to them. I'm much more of a like 3-seater, 2-seater kind of person, because I always feel that you lose space. Because if somebody, like you have the corners here, right? If somebody sits on this side, the person that sits on this side here will be bumping legs with the person that's sitting here, and then you won't have space in the middle for somebody to sit. The corner usually never gets taken up, or if it does get taken up, then you lose 2 places, because then people's legs will be bumping into each other. I personally am not that big of a fan. I do understand that it's a good couch for like a movie room or like a lounge room where you're just like sitting around, you're not actually like talking to each other, you're like stretching your feet out to watch a movie or stuff like that. But for normal living rooms where you bring people in to like talk to each other or to spend time together, where people need to see each other, see their faces, I feel like those kinds of sofas are not the best option, because somebody's always going to be left out, and the sofa takes up a lot of space that could be used for other things, and so it's a lot of space and it doesn't actually fit all of the people that you think it does. So that's just my opinion. That's why I think having the normal like 3-seater couch and then like a love seat is better in my opinion, because then that space that would be the corner of the sectional could be an end table with a lamp, place to put books. You use your space more, in my opinion. And speaking of end tables, there is one little thing that I'm a little bit nitpicky about in The Sims, and it's the size of the nightstands. The nightstands are either too big, they're like monstrously big, or they're either too small. That's just me being nitpicky. Like I said in my last video, if I downloaded CC, if I downloaded custom content, then I wouldn't have this problem, but I am sticking to the items that the game offers, so it does mean that I am limited in the size of the nightstands. I'm limited to what they have to offer. The balcony area outside of the daughter's room, in my vision, is a shared space. It's not just for the daughter. I think the whole family can use it. But of course, primarily this would be a place for her to hang out with her friends, to play some games together, but obviously the family also can spend time together. They can play the games together. It doesn't have to be just friends. So I think the balcony area in this house is a shared space. Even though it's literally outside of her room, I think everybody would use it together and spend family time together. I know it's extremely inconvenient to have just one full-sized bathroom in this house. I remember when I used to live with my family that had just one bathroom. We were 4 people, and it really is inconvenient because you have to wait for everybody to take a shower, or if somebody's taking a shower and you want to do your business, you have to talk with the person beforehand, or like they have to be okay with that. In my family, we're okay most of the time. And when we did live in a house with just one bathroom, my brother and I were both like small children, so we weren't like embarrassed with each other or with our parents. But as you get older and as you start going through puberty, obviously you would want to have your own like separate bathroom. At least having 2 showers would be a good idea. It saves time, and you get to have like one bathroom for the parents, one bathroom for the children. It makes it feel a lot more personal. It makes it a lot more private. Thankfully, in this house there is another toilet, so if somebody is doing their business in one bathroom, the other person can go and do their business in the other toilet. So that makes it a lot better, especially in The Sims, where you can just send people to go to the bathroom and you don't have to worry about them being like, oh, I can't get in. I can't guarantee that they won't do that, but at least it's another option. Originally, I didn't really want this house to be one of those, you know, Little Simsies blue suburban houses. I really was trying to avoid that when I started making this. You can tell that the color swatches that I chose in the beginning are very different from the ones that I got in the end, because I really was trying to avoid making it look like Little Simsies blue suburbans. But I had to use blue. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what you think, blue is the best swatch for the things in The Sims. The blue wallpapers, blue toned things are better. I feel like the warmer tones are not so good in this Sims game in specific. I feel like the blue tones, the cooler tones fit better. The things are more cohesive, they blend together a little bit better. So that's why in the end this did become kind of a blue suburban. It's not 100% blue suburban because the outside is not blue. It's not. But the inside, a lot of the spaces are with blue stuff. Some of them are with blue like wallpapers or blue accents. But I don't think it's the level of Little Simsies blue suburbans. I did have to use blue, but it's not blue, you know what I mean? I mentioned that I think this family has like money to live a comfortable life and sometimes do trips and things like that. I think because of that, this family has lots of pictures and like paintings and little knickknacks or souvenirs that they bring back from their trips. Doesn't mean that they do international trips every month, but I do think that this family does spend their money on vacations or time together as a family. So maybe that means a camping trip, up north in their state, or a fishing trip, or maybe they're gonna go visit family in another state. They have money to travel and they take pictures together. They take pictures as a family and they bring back souvenirs, they bring back things that look pretty, and then they fill up their house with all those knickknacks and all of those decorations. That's what I thought about this family, and that's why I think this house is so full of pictures and paintings and things on the wall, because they can do that. And also it's a way of remembering the places that you've gone before. Having lots of pictures is actually a good thing. I think now in this digital age, we're less inclined to like print pictures and display them on the wall because we have access to them on our phones. But I really do think that maybe we should go back to printing pictures and putting them in frames and sticking them up on our walls, because we can see it much more clearly. The times that we were happy, the people that make us happy, we can display them on our walls. I still want to print my wedding pictures and put them on the walls, obviously not on all walls because that's obnoxious. But having them just in my phone or in my computer is not enough, you know? I feel like maybe we need to go back to prioritizing displaying our loved ones. Going back to filling our spaces with memories, not just decorations, not just a place that looks good, but I do think we need to go back to filling our houses with memories. Whether that be knickknacks, whether that be souvenirs that you brought from your trip, whether that be something that you got from your grandma, or pictures of your friends and family. I really do think that filling your house with memories will bring a little bit more happiness to our lives. That's just my take. A little bit of a different topic, going back to The Sims. If you remember from the last show that I did, you remember that I had a hard time with the curtains because they would be clipping to the wrong part of the wall. Like the window frame would be here and the curtain would want to clip here, so it wouldn't like cover the whole window. Anyways, I kind of solved this problem in this build. You can see in this video that what I did was just take out the window so that the curtain had nowhere to clip to, so that I could adjust the curtain where I wanted. Because if you remember, even when I was using the move objects and I was using that the button to go up and down with the curtain, it didn't really want to because it wanted to stay stuck to the window. So when you take out the window, the curtain has nowhere to be stuck to. It's just stuck to the wall, not to the window. I did kind of solve the problem, so if you have that problem in your builds, maybe you could try doing that. Just taking out the window and putting it back, readjusting what you need. You're welcome. Landscaping for this house was actually pretty easy. I didn't have to do any flower beds. I didn't have to make it look so nice and pretty because, like I said, this is a family that is still working. They have money, but they don't have that much money and they still need to spend time doing stuff. So they wouldn't have time to upkeep a full-on garden. So I just put a little bit of shrubbery and the vines that are going up on the house. And I did use the debug objects for this because debug has basically the best landscaping stuff. I think the trees and the flowers and stuff like that do look a lot better in debug than they do in the normal game, especially the cottage living ones. They just look so nice and there's so much more variety. If you stick to just the stuff that The Sims offers you, like at first, I wouldn't be able to do what I did with the climbing plants because they just didn't really offer that much for me. But with debug, you have so much more options and in my opinion, it looks better. The only problem with debug is that you really have to scroll down, scroll, and find everything. And you can't like copy stuff. I forgot the name of the thing, but you know there's a button that you press. It shows it like a little brush kind of tool. When you click on that, it like copies. I think it's the eat button. It copies things so it makes like duplicates. With debug items, you can't make duplicates. So what I sometimes do when I do these kinds of builds and I want to use debug is, if I'm not sure if I'm gonna use this plant more than once, I'll just copy a whole bunch of them onto the lot, and if I don't use all of them, I'll just delete it. Because the time that it takes for you to find that thing again, it's basically impossible. So it's just better to have everything in front of you. If you don't need it, just delete it instead of having to go through the whole catalog to where is that thing? Where was it? I knew it was here somewhere. You always have pros and cons to anything, so it's up to you to choose what you want. But yeah, we're getting close to the end of this video. I remember that I had lots of fun with this shell, and I like doing shells in general. I still got a couple of shells left that I did a whole while back. I think after I finish uploading all of those shells, maybe I'll try doing shells again. We'll see what I feel like doing. Now we're going through the pictures so you can get a better idea of what the house looks like. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had fun with me. And let me know what you think. If you think the house looks good or not. Tell me what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sticking around until the end. I hope you'll stick with me for the next videos that I have. I play other stuff besides The Sims, so I hope you enjoyed that too. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!